2026 real estate prediction for Sparwood, British Columbia. Are we at the bottom or are we just getting started? Everybody already knows that the real estate market has slowed down. Prices are softer, sales are quieter, and investors, especially leveraged investors, are stepping back. So that's not the question anymore. The real question people are asking me in Sparwood is this: are we getting close to the bottom, or is 2026 going to be more painful than most people expect? Because nobody wants to buy too early, nobody wants to wait so long that they miss the window, and heading into 2026, Sparwood is sitting right in the middle of that tension. First of all, let's get something straight. Sparwood is not in a free fall. Sparwood is not crashing or falling off a cliff. What we're experiencing right now is something much slower, quieter, and honestly more frustrating. It's just a soft, slow reset. And resets in small single industry towns like Sparwood don't come with dramatic headlines. There's no panic moment, no sudden collapse, no clear signal telling everybody when to act. Instead, things just slow down. Listings get sitting there longer. Buyers hesitate. Sellers wait. And most people don't even realize when the bottom is forming, because real estate bottoms don't feel that exciting. They're actually quite boring. So most people imagine that a market bottom is some big dramatic event. Prices drop hard. Everybody panics. Then suddenly, buyers rush back in. But that's not how real estate actually works. And especially not in Sparwood. A market bottom isn't a day on the calendar. It's more like a zone. A stretch of time where selling pressure finally runs out of steam. Markets don't bottom when things start looking good. They bottom when bad news stops pushing prices lower. There's no bounce. There's no rally. Just a strange kind of quiet. And Sparwood is starting to move towards that zone, but we're not fully there yet. Let's talk about what's happening on the ground in Sparwood, not in the headlines from across this country that literally have absolutely nothing to do with what happens in Sparwood. There's no condo crash here because we don't have any new condos. There's no we built too much because we definitely haven't. We need to build more. Inventory right now feels manageable, but it's not clearing. There isn't a flood of listings, but homes also aren't moving quickly. That creates a dangerous middle ground. Enough supply to give buyers options, not enough urgency to force competition, and that keeps prices under pressure. Investor demand has quietly pulled back. Sparwood saw investor interest over the last few years because prices were relatively affordable, rents were ridiculously strong, financing was cheap, and that math was awesome. You could buy a place, rent it out, have cash flow and appreciation. Well, that math is getting a little tighter. It doesn't always work. It's not always a slam dunk. There are opportunities. You just have to be ready to jump. Interest costs are high. Rents have ceilings. Cash flow margins are thin. I've spoken with owners who aren't panicking. They're just quietly exiting because the numbers just don't work anymore. This isn't fear selling. It's called spreadsheet selling. Finding employment remains a stabilizer in Sparwood, but confidence matters. And when uncertainty creeps in, buyers are going to pause. Sellers are going to hesitate, and transactions are going to slow. That doesn't crash the prices. It grinds them down over time. Rents in Sparwood, they're not collapsing. There's so much demand still, right? But they aren't climbing like they were. They're flattening. And that matters. Even stable rental markets break. When mortgage costs rise, insurance increases, maintenance costs climb, owning property isn't cheap anymore, or it just doesn't even make sense. Month after month, that pressure wears people down, especially owners who bought recently and stretched to do it. Yes, downsizing is happening, but in Sparwood, most downsizers have equity, aren't over leveraged, aren't under pressure to sell. They're making lifestyle decisions, not emergency exits. And that adds inventory slowly, not explosively. It's a gradual tide and it's not a wave. Here's something almost nobody is talking about. New ownership housing in small towns like Sparwood are basically stalled. Condos, townhomes, spec builds, projects are being delayed or shelved because financing is expensive, construction costs are high, and buyers are cautious. That doesn't matter today. But in 12 to 24 months, it's going to matter a ton. Markets don't stabilize when future supply is pouring in. They stabilize when new supply dries up. And that's already happening. So what does 2026 actually look like in Sparwood? It's not a boom. It's not a bust. It's a holding pattern. Prices are going to feel sticky. Sellers are feeling tired. Buyers stay cautious and patient. Market bottoms don't show up with fireworks. They're going to form quietly like a fog lifting after you've already driven through it. That's where Sparwood appears to be heading. So who is this market for and who should wait? Well, I tell you what, this market is going to reward those with stable income, long-term ownership plans, buyers who understand why they're buying, and patience. This market is going to punish, on the other hand, over-leveraged people, over-leveraged buyers, short-term speculators. That person is trying to time the exact bottom. Tell you what, bud, can't. You could try, just buy. You're kind of close, and if you get it right, you're just lucky. And don't gamble on appreciation. Buy for a reason. Sparwood has never been a gambling market, and it rewards people who buy with a purpose, not with pressure. So right now, a lot of people are still waiting for something dramatic to happen, and it probably won't. Sparwood markets don't fall off the cliffs. They slow down, soften, and then quietly turn. Knowing where you are and where we are in the cycle matters, but knowing how to avoid a bad decision, that actually matters a lot more. And if you want to understand the big mistakes buyers make in markets like this, give me a shout. We'll have a chat. We'll talk about your specific timing, your risk, your long-term plans. Like I said, give me a shout, and I'll see you in the next one.